Welcome to episode 82 of your CySA Plus Prepcast. In this session, we will explore injection flaws, some of the most dangerous and widespread vulnerabilities in web applications today. Injection flaws arise when untrusted input is passed to an interpreter without proper validation or sanitization. These vulnerabilities allow attackers to submit crafted inputs that manipulate back-end logic, extract unauthorized data, or execute unintended system commands. They appear in many forms across databases, operating systems, web applications, and directory services. Mastering how injection flaws are introduced, how they are exploited, and how they can be prevented is essential for every cybersecurity analyst and is directly aligned with your CySA Plus exam objectives. Let's begin by defining injection flaws in clear terms. Injection flaws occur when a program incorporates user-supplied input directly into an execution context, such as a database query, system command, or directory lookup, without properly validating or isolating the input. This creates an opportunity for attackers to inject malicious commands, modify queries, or alter system behavior. When exploited successfully, injection flaws can allow attackers to steal data, execute arbitrary code, or escalate privileges. SQL injection is one of the most common and dangerous types of injection vulnerabilities. In this attack, an attacker manipulates input fields in a web application to alter SQL statements sent to the database. This can result in unauthorized data retrieval, data modification, deletion of records, or even administrative control over the database server. SQL injection is often possible when user inputs are directly concatenated into query strings without the use of parameterized queries or escaping. Command injection occurs when user inputs are used as part of a system command executed by the underlying operating system. If the input is not properly sanitized, attackers can inject shell commands or scripts into the execution flow. This gives them the ability to run arbitrary commands, read sensitive files, or compromise the entire system. Command injection is especially dangerous because it can lead to full system control if administrative privileges are attained during the attack. LDAP injection is another form of this vulnerability. Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or LDAP, is used to manage and query directory services. LDAP injection allows attackers to manipulate LDAP queries by injecting control characters or modifying filters. This can lead to unauthorized information disclosure, bypassed authentication mechanisms, or manipulation of directory data. Like other injection types, LDAP injection stems from a failure to validate and escape input fields properly. XML injection attacks occur when an application accepts XML input without validating or sanitizing it. Malicious XML data can be crafted to alter the behavior of the XML parser, retrieve unauthorized data, or perform unauthorized operations. In some cases, attackers may use XML external entity, or XXE, attacks to include external files, connect to external servers, or perform denial-of-service operations. XML injection presents unique risks in systems that rely heavily on XML-based APIs or configuration files. The root causes of injection flaws typically include insufficient input validation, failure to use parameterized queries, insecure string concatenation, and lack of output encoding. These vulnerabilities can be introduced during development when coding practices fail to enforce strict boundaries between user input and executable commands. Analysts identify these flaws through code reviews, dynamic testing, and vulnerability scanning. Secure coding policies and regular assessments help reduce the presence of these issues in deployed applications. Attackers actively exploit injection vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access, compromise data confidentiality, and escalate privileges. In many breaches, injection vulnerabilities serve as the initial entry point, allowing attackers to pivot to other systems or elevate their privileges. Because of their severity and prevalence, injection flaws consistently appear on the OWASP Top 10 list of web application vulnerabilities. Analysts treat any discovered injection flaw as a high-priority issue requiring immediate attention and remediation. Detection of injection flaws involves a combination of automated and manual techniques. Automated tools such as Burp Suite, OWASP Zap, SQL Map, and Nessus are widely used to test application inputs and identify signs of injection behavior. These tools simulate known payloads, monitor responses, and flag vulnerable input fields. However, automated tools may not detect every injection path, particularly in applications with complex workflows or multi-stage input processing. Manual penetration testing plays an essential role in validating scanner results and uncovering hard-to-detect flaws. Analysts test various input fields, headers, cookies, and hidden parameters to determine whether injection vulnerabilities exist. They analyze how input data flows through the application and whether any unsanitized values are passed to interpreters. Manual testing also helps identify the real-world impact of injection flaws by confirming exploitability and demonstrating potential data exposure. Thorough documentation is necessary to support remediation and future prevention. Analysts record every injection vulnerability discovered, including the input vectors used, the nature of the payloads, the scope of access achieved, and the associated risk level. They include recommendations for input validation, query parameterization, and proper escaping techniques. Well-documented assessments provide a clear path for developers to follow and allow security teams to track recurring issues and identify development practices that need reinforcement. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Effective mitigation of injection flaws starts with secure coding practices that focus on separating user input from executable logic. One of the most important practices is to implement parameterized queries, also known as prepared statements, when interacting with databases. This technique ensures that user inputs are treated strictly as data and not interpreted as part of the query logic. By using placeholders within the query string and binding variables to those placeholders, developers can eliminate the risk of user input altering the intended execution flow. Parameterized queries are not limited to SQL injection prevention. Analysts apply the same principle across different technologies, including LDAP, XPath, and other data processing languages. Whenever user input is passed to a command interpreter or query engine, the input must be isolated and processed using language-specific safety functions. Analysts advise developers to use built-in libraries and functions that support secure data handling rather than attempting to sanitize input manually, which can lead to overlooked edge cases or encoding inconsistencies. Comprehensive input validation is a core component of injection prevention. Analysts configure validation routines to check data types, enforce expected value ranges, and reject any unexpected characters or formats. For example, if a field should only accept numeric input, any alphabetic or symbolic input should be immediately rejected. Input validation occurs at the application boundary before data reaches back-end systems or processing components. Validation should be applied to all forms of input, including form fields, URL parameters, cookies, and HTTP headers. Web application firewalls serve as an additional defensive layer. A WAF can detect and block known injection patterns by inspecting inbound traffic and filtering out requests containing suspicious payloads. Analysts configure WAFs with specific rules to identify SQL injection, command injection, and script injection attempts. While WAFs are not a substitute for secure coding, they can provide temporary protection for vulnerable applications and help detect active exploitation attempts that may otherwise go unnoticed. Another important defense mechanism involves using secure development frameworks and libraries. Many modern web frameworks include built-in protections against common injection attacks. For example, object relational mapping libraries abstract database interactions in a way that inherently prevents SQL injection. Analysts encourage developers to adopt these frameworks rather than building custom data handling logic from scratch. Built-in protections are tested and maintained by a broader development community, making them more resilient against attack. Security testing is essential for validating the effectiveness of injection protections. Analysts conduct periodic penetration tests that simulate real-world attacks, targeting every input vector that could be abused by an attacker. These tests include attempting to inject SQL statements, operating system commands, and directory traversal payload. Code reviews are performed alongside penetration testing to examine how data is processed internally and whether any injection vulnerabilities could arise from programming mistakes or overlooked edge cases. When injection flaws are identified, immediate remediation is required. Analysts work with development teams to patch the vulnerable code, apply secure input validation, and confirm that all affected systems are updated. This process includes verifying that similar patterns do not exist elsewhere in the application. Analysts also ensure that system logs, audit trails, and alerting mechanisms are in place to detect any future attempts to exploit injection vulnerabilities, even after they have been patched. Injection vulnerability management also benefits from the integration of threat intelligence. Analysts monitor public vulnerability disclosures, attacker playbooks, and malware analysis reports to stay informed about new injection techniques and targeted applications. This information is used to tune scanning tools, update WAF rules, and prioritize remediation based on emerging risks. Understanding how attackers evolve their methods allows analysts to anticipate which systems may be targeted next and respond proactively. Analyst training is essential for maintaining effective defenses against injection flaws. Training programs include hands-on exercises with injection payloads, analysis of attack traffic, and secure programming labs. Analysts learn to craft test cases that simulate advanced injection attacks and explore how subtle variations in input can bypass weak validation. Continuous training ensures that analysts remain current with the latest attack techniques, tooling, and mitigation strategies, enabling them to advise developers effectively and respond to incidents with confidence. Finally, analysts regularly review and update their injection mitigation strategies. This includes reassessing input validation rules, enhancing automated testing pipelines, and refining penetration testing methodologies. As web technologies, application architectures, and regulatory frameworks evolve, analysts adapt their injection prevention tactics to meet new challenges. Maintaining a proactive and well-documented injection vulnerability management program is essential for long-term application security and organizational resilience. To summarize Episode 82, injection flaws represent one of the most significant threats to modern applications due to their potential for data breaches, privilege escalation, and system compromise. By understanding the different types of injection vulnerabilities, including SQL injection, command injection, LDAP injection, and XML injection, cybersecurity analysts are better equipped to detect, prevent, and remediate these risks. Through secure coding practices, input validation, automated scanning, manual testing, and continuous training, analysts help safeguard organizational assets and ensure alignment with the CySA Plus exam objectives. Stay tuned as we continue your detailed journey towards CySA Plus certification success. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.